It was Walt Disney's biggest magic trick of all, a film that would bring together concert classical music and a mouse masquerading as a magician. 70 years after it was first made, there is still nothing quite like Disney's Fantasia. But it also speaks of an era when Hollywood cartoons mixed with the makers of conceptual art.
1940 in Hollywood, Los Angeles, you have Rachmaninoff and Stravinsky living a kind of stone's throw away from one another. You've got Schoenberg just down the road. You've got Miklos Rozsa and Korngold writing film scores. So, I mean, this is an extraordinarily diverse musical community. Now, Fantasia, in that context, my view is that at the time, it was still incredibly adventurous and would have appealed to a big cross-section of what all of those composers and musicians were thinking about.
The thing with Fantasia is that, looking back on it, that this is the kind of cartoon that the Disney people secretly really wanted to make. Up until now, cartoons have tended to be either very short, sort of silly things about mice, mucking about on steamboats, or they were fairy tales.
It tries to create this art form which is really bigger than either the music or the animation, on its own, and become this cinematic experience. Leopold Stokowski, the conductor of Fantasia, has the most amazing career. I mean, he is a successful conductor on this side of the Atlantic. He's born in England, but it's in America where he becomes, especially with the Philadelphia Orchestra, who recorded the soundtrack for Fantasia, and he becomes this Magus-like figure.
They'd been planning a short with Mickey, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, and he was talking with Stokowski at a party, and Stokowski said, "Oh, I would love to help you with that," and that's how it all began, and it grew.
But Disney and Stokowski nearly bit off more than they could chew. Fantasia blew its budget several times over and required not just new techniques of animation, but a whole new way of recording sound. Making it became one of the biggest battles of Walt Disney's life.
If it wasn't right, he was going to redo it, despite the cost or the effort. There was a lot going on at the studio at that time, too. I think they were doing Pinocchio and Bambi, lots of production.
In a way, Fantasia represents the struggle for the soul of Hollywood. Should the studios be pushing the boundaries artistically, or just giving the public what it wanted?
We've always heard it was a failure. It was not 100% artistic success, because there were those who thought it was too silly for the divine music, and others who wouldn't bother go sing it because they didn't like that kind of music,
When it flopped at the box office, perhaps inevitable, Uncle Walt remarked bitterly that he was through with caviar. From now on, he said, it's mashed potatoes and gravy.
Fantasia was a flop, it's fair to say, and I suppose it has something to do with the rules of mainstream filmmaking, that if you go away from the popular lowest common denominator, then you may well suffer for it. And maybe if Fantasia had been made in the sort of late 60s, it would have gone down a treat with the same audience that loved 2001. And in fact, I think that's when its star began to rise. Really, was in the 60s, when people could sort of take a load of drugs and watch it and groove to its sort of mad visuals, basically.
But the brilliant thing, it wasn't done as part of what Virgil Thomson called the music appreciation racket. I mean, this is a sort of education that happens through genuine entertainment. It doesn't happen because, now we're going to teach you that Stravinsky is really okay, people. It's not that at all. It happens because they wanted to make this film. That I think is its genius, really.
Even now, some of Fantasia's kitscher scenes can still give you toothache. Classical critics have never quite forgiven Disney for saying that he thought the movie would really make Beethoven. But so what? That, in a way, is a measure of its ambition. The American writer Otis Ferguson called Fantasia one of the strange and beautiful things that have happened in the world, a filmmaking experiment that's never quite been equalled, which gave millions of people their first taste of classical music. 70 years on, Fantasia does still seem strange, but it's also kind of brilliant too.